Good afternoon, Lake Oswego Rotary, the finest Rotary in the universe. I'm excited to talk to you today about how pocket billiards changes people's lives. About 10 years ago, I was managing a bar and pool room in Northern California, and an older gentleman came in, and he was highly intoxicated, and I had to cut him off and ask him to leave. He came back about a month later and said, "Jackie, I want to learn how to play pool." And I said, "Okay, but you can't drink." And he said, "Okay." And he started taking lessons and practiced every day for hours. Became one of the top players in the town, like an A-level player. And I learned it more and more about him. He was actually a Green Beret and also a farrier for Paul Newman's horses. Really intelligent, disciplined guy. And he lost his way and became an alcoholic and was homeless at that time. But pool really got his life back together and brought his focus back and his purpose. And the champion in him really came out. And after a year or so that I knew him, he passed away from cancer. And his family came to talk to me, and this is his dad here. And he was also a veteran at the Reading Veterans Home. And he said all that Rob talked about in his last days was pool. And we would love for you to come to our Reading Veterans Home and referee a match and give lessons. So I would do that a couple times a year. And his dad actually won the championship. It was awesome.
We have a brave volunteer, and Kenny is going to put this chalk in his teeth. And I'm going to make the cue ball into the 3, into the 8. Thanks, Kenny.
He was a brave man. So before I tell you more stories about how pool has helped and benefited people's lives, I'll give you a little bit of information about my background and how I got involved in pool, and a little bit about pool itself. I was born in Washington State, in Richland, where my dad was a nuclear engineer. And I started playing pool when I was 3 years old. My dad put a pool cue in my hand then, and then my mom is an award-winning artist. And I was really lucky to get both of those skills because they both apply to pool. The left brain, where it's analytical mechanics and studying the physics and geometry behind the game. And also you use your right brain, where you visualize and create and listen to the sound of the ball and everything, and more like a meditation side. These are some pieces from my artwork, and that's me in the Bob Ross wig, Happy Trees mural.
What happened to your hair?
And let's see, and then my parents got divorced, and me and my mom moved to Philadelphia, where I went to high school, and then I went to college in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, got my degree in biology. And after I got my degree, I thought, I'll take a year or two and see where pool can take me. And I trained with 2 coaches to win the largest national amateur championship in the country in Las Vegas. And I won both the 8-ball championship and the trick shot championship. And I never even shot a trick shot. My coach entered me into it, and I surprisingly won, because once you know kind of the mechanics and the principles behind it, you can make the ball do what you want. And that was an awesome experience. I was really excited to win it. It was a 4-day tournament, 497 women, $4,500, which was great, but I also kind of felt a little bit let down. I remember looking across the room, and there was a men's tournament going on, and I always felt really passionate about, with pool, there's not enough power involved to separate the sexes. So I felt a little bit let down, like I didn't get to play all the competition. And so I entered into a large men's competition, and they turned me down. It was by one of the biggest league organizations in the country, the American Pool Players Association. And they wouldn't let me in, so I filed an application with the ACLU, and they have thousands of applicants, and they took my case, but they said they couldn't take it till the following year because they didn't have enough staff. So the following year, we should have won. It should have been a for sure win, except I got accepted on a professional tour then. And so they said, oh, it's a moot point because this is an amateur men's event. They said if you could find any other woman that would take the case the following year, we could do that. But at that time, I could not find one single female to do it because some of the semi-pros were too worried that it would mess them up politically, which it probably would have. And today you could find hundreds of women that would do it. I got accepted onto this absolutely amazing tour. This was the first official co-ed professional tour with all different multiple-time world champions, Hall of Famers. It was incredible. The biggest prize money pool's ever seen. There was about $500,000 in it, and probably the best tour that pool ever will see, unfortunately. And they had more video cameras than the Super Bowl at the first one. This appealed to not only the most serious pool players, but also people that weren't really acquainted with pool because it was entertaining as well. They had the best equipment, grueling matches. They had Vegas showgirls bring out the guys' pool cue for the kickoff event, and Chippendale bring out the girls. It was great. And they hired the guy famous for saying, let's get ready to rumble, to say, let's get ready to rack 'em. It was great. So here's a clip from that. Oh man. I think it might take a minute to load. There we go.
Players. They are champions. They're hustlers and Hall of Famers. They're the world's greatest pool players. And they come to the International Pool Tour's King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout. To pick good results. To win the biggest prize money the sport has ever known. And to from the current King of Pool, Mike the Mountain Eagle.
And unfortunately, that tour came to an end because they were backing it by online gambling, and they made a new law that year that made that impossible. So the tour came to an end, and I was married to a bar owner who just opened a second bar, and that bar was actually not doing well. And so I invested a bunch of money into flipping the concept, and went from playing pool like 10, 12 hours a day to bar business, learning the back of the house to the front of the house, different systems and procedures. We fortunately knew a guy that owned a restaurant consultant company just like Bar Rescue, but before Bar Rescue was there. And that was an awesome experience. I got to manage the place and focus on marketing, and turned into a huge success. After I got divorced and moved to California, where my dad lived at the time. And there were a couple pool rooms that had amazing pool tables there, but were totally dead. And so I made an agreement with the owner to come help manage it and make it busy. And I combined my experience in the bar business with pool, and I gave lessons, and people started joining leagues. We had about 3 leagues a week, one tournament. There was like 40, 50 people that came in for all those, and they would practice during the day, and really created this amazing community of people from all different backgrounds, which made it also really fun and interesting. And the second pool room that I transformed in Chico, they had available space right next door, and he said I could open a pool academy. So that doubled the space and the pool tables, and I ended up creating curriculums for all levels, a PhD course, pool hall degree, and trained women's group to the championships as well as a men's team. And here's a clip of one of the parties with a lesson. It's similar to golf. You have to keep your head really still. So sometimes I'll hold my pool cue above their head so you can feel it if you jump up. Then I moved to Portland and was a house pro at Uptown Billiards Club, which was absolutely an amazing club. You guys might be familiar with it. It was on Northwest 23rd. They had amazing wine and food and just super classy place. And unfortunately, they went out of business after 25 years because the landlord raised the rent by like over 30%. So I went to another pool room and was the general manager there, event coordinator, and ran leagues and tournaments and lessons. And here's a clip from a corporate team building event.
Today we're going to do three things. We're going to learn some fundamentals on how to play pool better. And then we're going to do a competition amongst you guys for prizes. And we're also going to, then we're going to do a trick shot show you how to do some trick shots also. So the very first thing is how you hold the pool cue, right? We're going to have 3 stations per table and a few different exercises. So the first one is, what do you do with your bridge hand? Your bridge hand is the hand you would naturally put on the table. So there's 5 game bridge hands. Today we're just going to go for one that'll get you through most shots. Come on over and put your hand on the table and do this with me.
So let's do a mini lesson here on your bridge hand. So put your hand on the table that you would normally put out. Oops. And just lie it flat on the table, knuckles up in the air, fingers straight, so not like this, but just like this, right? We want to achieve 2 things, stability and smoothness. And we're going to spread our fingers for the stability. Then you're going to lock your thumb to your first knuckle there. We want it locked for more stability. And then that little V is where you're going to put the pool cue. And that's the most versatile bridge hand, and there's more to learn, but that'll get you through most shots. And we'll do more at the charity pool tournament.
Hold this for
go ahead. Oh, that's
to
okay.
free up your hands.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Alan. Thank you. So pool requires a lot of skill and strategy, mechanics. One of my favorite quotes is that pool is a cross between martial arts and brain surgery. And the more that you get into it, the more you'll learn that that's true. So pool is colliding spheres. So the one spin on the first ball affects the second ball. You have to have proper mechanics, deliver a straight and level pool cue. So your stance has to be solid. Your arm has to be like a pendulum. We don't want it moving around or you won't deliver a straight and level cue. You play 3 shots in advance. If you miss, because your first shot affects your third shot, if you miss 1 shot, you might never get back to the table. And the English also affects, English means anywhere except for center, so high, low, left, right, spins the ball, and affects how it comes off the rails. Your equipment affects it. There's a lot of similarities to golf, a lot of mental game. For example, if you think in golf, don't hit it into the water, don't hit it into the water, you'll hit it into the water, because your mind can only hear positive. So if you say don't miss, you'll miss. Einstein said there are over 6 million shots in pool. This is such a cool clip from Donald Duck in Math Magic Land, and this is played at a lot of high schools and grade schools to teach math. And this system was derived from a billiards game. Billiards is a table with no pockets, and you only use 3 balls. And the white ball, the cue ball, if you, let's say, well, in a pool game, if you can't see directly your object ball, then you have to hit the rails in order to hit your ball. So in billiards, the rules are you have to hit 3 cushions, and then the cue ball has to hit 2 other balls. It's very complex, but there's a system, it's called the diamond system, and you assign numbers to those diamonds to calculate where to aim.
For this, he uses the diamond markings on the rail as a mathematical guide. First, he figures the natural angle for hitting the object balls, and then he finds that his cue ball must bounce off the number 3 diamond. Next, he gets ready for the shot, and he needs a number for his cue position. This calls for a different set of numbers. Not when you get the hang of it. You see, the cue position is 4. Now a simple subtraction. 3 from 4 is 1. So if he shoots for the first diamond, he should make it. It's called playing the diamond system.
And we'll go over that at the charity event that we'll have at the end of next month at Gemini. It'll be fun. We'll do some tips and tricks and competitions on fundamentals. The most cutting edge technology now to learn how to play pool was actually invented by a fellow pool instructor here in Portland who created it with a guy that works at Intel, and it projects the image of what you want to visualize when you play. And there are different algorithms, like a lot, it's very complex, to have it accurately go on the table without any distortion. Because one of the biggest challenges is to just have somebody be able to see what's possible, let alone see what you're trying to do, what path you want the cue ball to take. Because at first, sometimes people look at this and they go, oh, that's cheating. But no, the cue ball doesn't go to that one spot every time. You have to make it go there with a different spin and way that you hit it. How much follow through, how much low, the power affects it. So here's a clip from that.
Let's say that you would like to practice this shot. You have solids. You want to make the 5 on the side and make the 8 to win the game. You're going to use some high English, 1 tip of high, and a little bit of left. So a half a tip, 0.5 tips of left, and 1.25 power. And you want to arrive in this target zone to make the 8 and win the game. Just like that.
I formed a group called the Angels of Billiards, and we were like the Charlie's Angels, but with pool cues. And we travel around and do all kinds of charity events, educate people about the game, and raise money for charity. There's another event coming up. This will be my 13th year at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, where it's put on by Smoker Friendly, who we get about 2,000 people there. There's all different cigar vendors, wine and whiskey tasting. It's a great event. We raise money for the battered women's shelter, and it's called Get Beat by a Girl. This guy came up last year, and he was like, you guys should be doing it for the battered men's shelter because you girls are kicking their butts. And here's a corporate team building event. That was Anastasia, a former Rotarian at Chico, and she did a corporate team building party for her staff. And what's really neat about it is, so we don't get together and just like play a game, we do fundamentals drills. So it really is inviting for everybody. And even if it, for all different reasons, if you're an artist, if you're into meditation, there's all different kinds of things you can get out of pool. There's strategy, and it's interesting for a lot of different reasons. Here's a Rotary social. And the Sunshine Rotary, we challenged the Noon Rotary to a competition to raise money for polio. So it was a team tournament, and to double the amount that we raised, I invited all the serious pool players too, and invented invented a thing called the pool gods, similar to mulligans in golf. So raffle tickets were sold, and every 10 minutes a raffle ticket was chosen to see who the pool god was. If your ticket was chosen, you get to move any ball on your table or somebody else's table to help or hurt them. So nobody knew who was going to win. It was really fun. Here's a pool god winner. So you could see they had a terrible time. Mark Twain said, "Pool is better than going to the doctor." More examples of how students benefited was Kelly Lindsay was one of my most serious players, and she was able to become the top shooter 4 consecutive years in a row. It's absolutely amazing. And she also met her husband through pool. Like, you never know what kind of connections you're going to make through pool as well. And it appeals to people all different diverse backgrounds. This is Mike Pingator, and he took lessons and got in a car accident and came in and showed me the x-rays, and his spine was completely severed. It was like unreal. And this is the second time in his life that he was told he would never walk again. And he continued to take lessons, and we trained him how to approach the shot in a wheelchair, and we had to make some other adjustments, but he really kept his mind focused and had a great support system from his family and friends. And it's unbelievable, but he came in one day with braces and he was actually able to walk again. It was just incredible. Here's Michael Chambers, who I met at Uptown Billiards Club. He's also a veteran, actually, and I met him. He was the most dapper guy I've ever met. You should see him. He had like a top hat and a suit every time he'd come into Uptown. And I could tell he was really interested in pool, but was too nervous to kind of play because he had MS and would shake really bad and also stuttered a lot. Eventually, he started taking lessons, and it was the weirdest thing. He stopped stuttering, and the shaking really decreased, and he also became an A-level player. It was absolutely incredible. And he sent me this email a few months ago. He said, 4 strokes and 2 heart attacks have taken their toll, but I still can't imagine better mental, occupational, and physical therapy. And that's the senior home that he's in now, and he made sure that they had a pool table. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that I have inspired you to learn a little bit more about pool, and who knows how pocket billiards might change your life.
So what is the best one advice you give a guy like me
Sure.
in improving their shots?
Okay. So I'll give you a couple tips. And the number one thing is to keep your head still. The most common reason that people miss, even on the top level, is they move their head, just like in golf. because it's natural, because our adrenaline's going, you're afraid to win, or you're excited to win, or whatever it is. So keep your head really still and exaggerate it until all the balls stop rolling. Just stay there, because it's not like it's football, someone's going to tackle you, right? So you can just stay real still. The only thing that moves is your forearm. And then other tip would be to keep your pool stick level. So you don't want it to be elevated, because any elevation means you're coming down on the cue ball, which actually makes the ball jump or curve a little bit and makes you miss your shot.
Jackie, which game do you think is tougher, 8-ball or snooker?
That's a great question. So there are different things that are tough about each of them. So snooker is a bigger table, smaller pockets, smaller balls, and it's harder to make the shots. So the snooker stance is a little bit different. It's made more for precision, but they don't put as much spin on the ball. The spin causes the ball to actually curve on the way that it gets to the object ball. But in 8-ball, in a regular pocket billiards game, they use more spin, and that requires a different stance slightly. They're both different, so it just depends on the accuracy of the shot or the positioning of the cue ball is what's harder in pocket billiards.
So I have a question, and that is, how much of what you were taught or learned from your dad do you still carry with you?
A lot. Well, I was really lucky because he was an engineer, so he studied the proper fundamentals, so he didn't even teach me any bad habits, and had a great stance, and where you hold your hands and everything, it created the best chance to have a good shot, as well as he studied the mental game, actually, and he was a really great mental game coach. I can still hear his voice in my head when I shoot. It's great.
Jackie, I excuse me, I had an ill spilled youth in Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, Oregon, there's a pool hall, I don't know if it's still there or not, down in the basement underneath Speed's restaurant. And I had a chance when I was 13 years of age to meet William Scooney.
Awesome.
Yeah, Willie came down and did a demonstration for it. And from that, I probably played 1,000 games. And $100,000 spent on pool. Love it. Play it all the time.
That's great.
Just want to know, is there a difference between pool and billiards? Or
Yeah,
pool?
definitely. It's very confusing. I always say billiards only because people get what I'm talking about faster. If I say pool, then people think I swim. So that's my nickname is billiards for that reason, but I play more pool, which is called pocket billiards. It's just too long to say that all the time. But that's just a pool table with pockets where you're pocketing the balls. But billiards is a table that has no pockets, and you're playing with only three balls, a 3-cushion billiards, like in that Donald Duck clip. So yeah, good question.
Hi, Jackie, Tyler Wright, visiting Rotarian, also YMCA CEO. Jackie and I have actually worked Toastmasters together. Excellent speech.
Thank you.
Hey, quick story, really quick. My dad also was a professional pool player, tried to teach me at a younger age, and I used the Einstein quote saying, hey, Einstein said there were 6 million ways to make this shot, and he said, you're doing it 6 million ways wrong. So my question, though, is, have you used what I just saw in this video to approach certain schools? I'm not good with microphones, I'm better without. Have you approached certain schools or organizations who work with youth about teaching mathematics through pool?
I have actually. I spent a couple years trying to get my curriculum into a college, which it could also, apply to a high school or grade school, but because you can learn all different things through it. 2 years of meetings with Butte College and the coach Rigsby of Aaron Rodgers, he really wanted it. They really wanted it, but then at the very end, they had a new vice president that just didn't get it and immediately would turn it down. So it was disappointing. But I would like to try it again.
Maybe through a YMCA. Thank you very much.
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Jackie, our custom to give a book in your honor at the Lake Oswego Library. And if you could sign it, the book is The World According to Color. And I had to kind of figure that out, but in here it says that the science of your eyes and brains interpreting light and color. So I guess that has something
Thank
to do
you.
with
Yeah, it was very nice.
billiards.
Yeah. Sign it?
Yeah, sign it. We're adjourned.